Welcome, my friends of the interwebs, and welcome to, I'll tell you, I was going to come out swinging. I was going to come out swinging and, take on all comers when it comes to the green energy debacle, boondoggle, swindles and cons, whatnot. But, I decided, let me just state a few things, have a pleasant conversation about how I feel, and we'll go from there. I do want to address a couple of the comments in my last video regarding the green world that we live in when it comes to solar and whatnot. I think there's some misconceptions out there. I think that there are people who really do believe that solar is good to go, that it's right on the cusp of being the answer to all of our problems. Even a couple of my, couple of my most favored YouTube subscribers seem to be huge supporters of solar. As am I, by the way. As am I. I am a huge supporter of solar. Let me dispel the myth right now that I'm against solar. The fact of the matter is I'm not. I'm totally pro solar for what it's good for and what it's capable of doing. What I am completely against is throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Which means basically shutting down all of our coal capacity and or shipping coal to China, which is coming, by the way. And I'll get to that in probably another video, maybe this one, who knows. But I mean, and I'm totally against the fleecing of the United States taxpayer, which is exactly what's going on right now. And when I said that solar could not stand without government subsidies, I was very serious about that. And if you do not believe that's the case, you need to do some homework. I'm going to help you do some of that homework in a minute. For the most part, for me, I just speak the truth. I just throw the facts out there. And the facts are what they are. So let me start with the Toledo Blade. One of America's great newspapers. So says they. right here. One of America's great newspapers. I gave up my subscription to the Toledo Blade several years ago because they are a left-wing douchebag rag. And that's just, there ain't no other way to put it. I mean, that's just what they are. I just got sick and tired of their one-sided, left-wing journalism, and so I just don't ever buy the Blade. However, not long ago, in fact, on the 15th, I was at the gas station, and out of the corner of my eye, I caught that right there. Documents trace funds at solar firm. Leaders of local company made loans to themselves. A Blade investigation. Now, the reason I ended up buying this was the Sunday paper too. This was the expensive paper. This was $2. $2. The reason I bought it was because, you never see the left-wing rags ever exposing anything about green energy. You just don't. But I was intrigued. I had to figure out what this company was doing. Now, not long ago, Vice President, what's his face? Not Al Gore, but Biden, Vice President Biden, he was at that plant. It's in Perrysburg, Ohio. He was at, which is just right, so basically a suburb of Toledo. He was at that plant, and he was doing what he always does, which is talk about how great the green jobs are and how they're the future of the country and blah, 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 how he has their back, and with the support of the Obama administration, they're going to usher in a whole new era of power in the United States. So cheap you can't even meter it. Well, no, they didn't say that. But when Biden comes out or Obama comes out to your solar plant, the jig's up. I don't know why that is, but that's just the facts. So anyway, so this company, WK Solar Group, what they decided to do was to take taxpayer money along with investors' money and then squander it. The first thing they did was start to loan each other large sums of cash. So the vice president would approve a loan to the president would approve a loan to the vice president, and they, for the most part, fleeced the whole sheep. They'll fleeced it. All fleeced the taxpayers and the investors. I mean, just a complete, absolute joke. And just recently, a couple months ago, they laid everybody off. So, there you have it. Now, it's very cylinder-like. Of course, they're all very cylinder-like. Which brings me to First Solar. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to ask you guys to do some homework on this. You need to Google after this video, Google, or you can pause this video and do this. First Solar. First Solar is the single largest manufacturer of solar panels in these here United States of America. Okay, they're the big dogs. They're the ones that were blazing the way. They were First Solar. First Solar. My buddy just got a job with them about a year, maybe a year and a half ago. And I told him, when he told me that he got a job with them, I said, dude, save your money. Save your money, because that whole house of cards, that whole Ponzi scheme, that whole pyramid scheme is going to come crashing down. And he didn't believe it. But the last time I talked to him, which was a couple weeks ago, he's now a believer. So First Energy Solar, I want you to look at their stock price over the last, let's just say 5 years, and watch what looks like something akin to falling off a cliff. And there's reasons for that. Because these companies cannot survive without some form of government money. Okay, and there's only so much government money that can be funneled out. I mean, that's just the way it is. Now, First Solar, of course, having the same issues as every other, green energy job in the United States. They were also heavily reliant on contracts from Germany. Now, see, Germany was blazing the trail. Germany was showing the whole world how to do it. They were going to start producing a lot of their energy from solar and wind and whatnot, mostly solar. Well, as of recently, the German government was like, we can't keep throwing money down the rat hole. It just ain't working. So they cut off a lot of their funding for that particular type of thing, the solar panels. And as soon as they did, that was it. That was like the death knell for First Solar. And here's the other thing people have to understand is that, regardless, look, and I've said this before, when you take this industry here, coal, okay, COAL, coal, you take that industry there and you remove it, jobs and all, and you try to replace it with this. This is what happens, okay? And then you get $1 bills that are worth about that. So, okay. So, bottom line, what we decided to do, freaking coal dust everywhere. What we decided to do was throw the baby out with the bathwater. We decided that the only way the American people would embrace green energy is if we made traditional energy either impossible to get or so expensive that it would bankrupt you even trying. So what happens? Okay. Well, you're left with a boondoggle. You're left with this solar, this green energy fantasy. And it is a fantasy. If you just look at the numbers, how much energy is produced by renewables versus how much energy is produced by every other form of let's just say hydrocarbon of some sort. Well, it doesn't even have to be hydrocarbon. It can be any kind of even nuclear. The numbers of energy that we get from the green energy sector is minute. I mean, it's just minute. It's single digits in comparison. And that can't be made up. It's just not efficient. It's not cost effective. It's just not possible. And see, the thing that kills me too, when I see friends of mine that live out in the West Coast, the sunny West Coast, and they just don't get it. Even out there, one guy was talking about how, I don't know if he's building houses or his somebody's building houses that he knows, and that they're putting solar panels on the roofs. Well, that ain't happening in Toledo, Ohio. That ain't happening in Elkhart, Indiana. That ain't happening in fucking just about any Temperance, Michigan, because we don't have it like that. We don't have the sun like that. Okay, but even out in sunny California, you can't produce enough energy. They're selling it back to the grid. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Well, all right, maybe not. I'm assuming that you can, with enough batteries, you can probably store enough of power to make that happen. But it's not cost effective. It's not reasonable. It's not sensible at all. It doesn't make any sense. Batteries have a finite lifespan. And here's the other thing, and Mobile Tech brought this up. We don't have enough raw materials to make batteries for every house in this country. And even if we did, what would we end up doing with all those batteries once their lifespan came to an end. We're talking lead, we're talking mercury, we're talking, lithium. We're talking toxic waste. You gonna put it in landfills? Because right now you're trying to protect the air, but in all honesty, once that toxic sludge that starts leaking into landfills, you're gonna be polluting the water. I mean, say 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. And maybe actually, which goes back to the whole paper versus plastic, your solution, the greenie solution, is usually 10,000 times worse than what's going on currently. Which, that's another point I want to bring up. Somebody made mention that the reason that plastic bags phased out a paper was because of money. No, that's not it. I was alive and well when that was going on. I was about 10 years old, and I can remember the first time I'd ever heard the term tree hugger was over that whole paper versus plastic thing. It had nothing to do with money. And if that was your argument, if that is your argument, then why, when I go to Kroger's today, do they offer me the paper or plastic option, which was off the table for 20 years, over 20 years, probably 25 years. That option didn't exist. So I mean, no, that wasn't it. It basically what happened was, and I remember this, a bunch of tree hugging hippie nuts basically browbeat industry into changing what they were doing for the good of Mother Earth. See, that's the thing, people. You guys have to understand. What's going on here is we've lent the lunatics and we let them out and put them in charge of the asylum. We used to laugh at people that were greenhouse. Listen, I'm not for shitting in my living room, okay? Which means, I appreciate some environmental controls. But I am for shitting in my house. It's called a bathroom. It's called a toilet. And I think a lot of these well-intentioned Greenpeace lunatics are going to be the death of us all. Really screw us, because I'll tell you what, China's they're developing solar power, not for themselves. They're building a coal burning power plant, one a week. And I'll tell you right now, I know for a fact that a lot of our coal in this country is starting to be shipped to China. For the first time in our country's history, we're exporting a lot of coal to China. How ridiculous is that? They're basically buzzards picking at our bones. Our natural resources are going to be going to China. And meanwhile, they're going to take those natural resources and use it to create cheap power and pollute the atmosphere probably 1,000 times worse than what we were doing. And then they're going to take that cheap power, make solar panels, and send them to us at a third of the cost that the American solar panel manufacturers can make it at. There you go. There you have it. So here's my prediction. If we keep going down this green rat hole, we're going to become a third world nation. Now, you have to ask yourself this. Are you prepared for that? I mean, are you? I know a lot of people, it's that kind of self-loathing, oh, America's such imperialist bastards, and I hate myself, and, that whole 9 yards. Look around and see what it's like to be number 2, number 3, number 4 in this world. Or worse. Is that really what you want for your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren? I mean, if that's what you want for yourself, then hey, kumbaya. Kumbaya. But I mean, is that the world you want to leave? Is that the legacy you want for your children? That, hey, thanks Pops, for leaving us a third world nation. I mean, for God's sake, for the first time in history, there are equal number of illegal immigrants leaving the United States as there is coming in. It's a net zero gain right now. It offsets each other, and eventually there'll be more leaving than are coming in. Well, I guess in one way that'll solve the immigration problem, because nobody wants to illegally immigrate to a third world nation. And what kills me about that, you look at Mexico right now. They have a better GDP than us. They're actually exploiting their natural resources. They're drilling for oil. We're not. And anybody that says we are is crazy. I mean, bottom line, yeah, we're drilling oil on private land, but you know what? Most of Alaska is not private land. Most of Alaska is federal land. Okay? There are no federal permits being issued for drilling. Meanwhile, we're giving money to South American countries in Mexico to drill for their oil. They could drill there. In fact, we'll fund them with our taxpayer money. But we're not going to explore our federal lands. No, that's just not going to happen. So I don't know, people. I got to be honest with you. This subject is near and dear to my heart because a big part of my income came from fossil fuels. And overnight, literally overnight, the Obama administration's EPA shut off my money. A big part of it. And that's hard to swallow. That really is. That's hard to swallow when you know that it's all a bunch of bullshit. When you know that my tax money's going to this shit. First Solar to WK Solar Group to Solyndra. And I'm guaranteeing you a shitload more companies just like that. So you've got coal miners that are laid off. You've got railroad conductors and engineer and trackmen that are laid off. You've got truck drivers that are laid off. You've got heavy equipment manufacturers from Caterpillar and John Deere laying off, okay? Because the EPA says we can't be mining coal. Well, we can't just, no. You can't burn the coal unless you can burn it to where it's spotless. There's just there's no burning it. Meanwhile, we're shipping it to China, and I guarantee you they don't have an EPA there. They do not have an EPA there. So, anyway. Third world nation, here we come. It's sad. It breaks my heart, but I guess it is what it is. I mean, I don't know how we got to this point in this country where we want to hamstring ourselves and watch China take over, watch a communist country take over the top dog spot. And, it's just, it baffles me. It just baffles my mind. And I look at this president who is seemingly absolutely cool with that. A big part of it is I don't think he knows what he's doing. I think he's getting some bad advice. Listen, the guy had no experience coming into this. Community organizer, and he was a senator for about a minute. It is what it is. I don't know. It saddens me to think that I grew up in a country where we were number one. We had defeated communism. I was there for the ride for that. I was there when Ronald Reagan rode his horse down Pennsylvania Avenue. I was there for that. And I watched him take on the evil empire. I just can't help but to think that he'd be spinning in his grave watching this communist country take over. And the whole China versus, America thing, we can have that argument too. I know there are plenty of communists on YouTube that love to stick up for the disciples of Chairman Mao. So, anyway, that's all I got for you. It's kind of bumming me out. The green energy thing is a scam, people. The EPA is evil. They're out to destroy fossil fuels, a whole industry. And by the way, and a byproduct of them destroying the fossil fuels industry in the United States, the byproduct is that this country is going to go right down the toilet. We have to have cheap energy to be able to compete in this world. As it is, our government's not doing jack squat to keep China from manipulating their currency and dumping things and destroying our industries as it is. So you want to take a company and tell them now you're going to have to pay 3 times as much for your energy? Good luck competing on a global scale. You can't. You can't even compete domestically. So, anyway, there you have it. There you have it. I got a lot more to say, as you all, I'm sure, are assuming. Everybody take care. See ya!